Hello, I wanted to tell you another ghost story from the Lake District in England. And today it's about Lake Windermere. It is the biggest lake in the Lake District. Now, it's a very big lake, and so to get to the other side of the lake, you need to either go a very long way around it, or you can take the ferry. The ferry is a boat that can carry lots of people across the lake. And this story is about the ferrymen, the men who row the boats across the lake. They row the ferry boats across the lake. And lots of the ferrymen in this story were quite old. Old. But there was one young ferryman. Often, when the ferrymen were bringing people across the lake, they heard cries, cries from the other side of the lake. And the people heard the cries. It was like someone was going, boat, boat, asking for a boat to come to get them from the other side of the lake. But it was misty. You couldn't see. And most of the ferrymen were very frightened. They were scared, and they didn't go. They stayed on their side of the lake, and they didn't go across the lake towards the cry of boat, boat, boat. But the youngest ferryman laughed. You're so silly. You're so silly. I will go across the lake. And so the youngest ferryman got in the boat and he rowed across the lake. When he came back, his hair had turned from brown to grey, and he had aged. He had aged by 30 years. And he didn't say anything. He didn't speak one word. He was white with fear, and he never spoke one word. And the next day, he died. He died. So the other ferrymen never found out what he saw across the lake that day. They were very frightened, so they asked a monk, a religious man, to exorcise, to get rid of the ghost from across the lake, because they thought that a ghost was on the lake, a bad spirit. So they asked the monk who lived on an island in the lake, to get rid of the bad spirit. And the monk took his bell, ding dong, on Christmas Day, and he said prayers, and he banished the bad spirit. He banished it. But even now, some people go walking in the hills and around the shores of the lake. And these walkers, sometimes they look behind them and they see a hooded figure, a figure with a hood following them.